Welcome, friends, to Simply Forex, Trading Forex Simply. I'm your host, Max Farrow. This is Dex Trader. And in this series, we're going to talk to you about making a journal. This is the part 2 series of making a journal, where we're going to grab the information from your trades on your MetaTrader 4 system and get it transferred over to your spreadsheet that you just made. So in the previous video, we had you make this particular spreadsheet. We eventually want it to look like this. Now, how do we get it to look like that? Well, simply enough, we're going to have to take the information from our MetaTrader 4 trading platform. Now, where do we get that? Well, sometimes you get your system kind of looks like this, right? You got the box on the left, you got a big box in the middle with a whole bunch of stuff, but where do you see where the trades are at? Well, if you took the course earlier, you've seen that if you go to View and go to Terminal, it'll bring up this process here. Let me just lower my screen here. And you can kind of see it down in this area right here, all the way down here, okay? It'll say Trade, Exposure, and Account History. The trade side has your current trades that are active. In my case, I don't have any on this particular broker running at this time. On my account history, it shows that I have 2 trades that I have done for today. Now, how do I see all my history? Well, if you right-click into the box, you can go to Custom Period, and once you do that, you can put it down last 3 days, last week, last month, all the history, whatever you want it to be. In my case, I'm showing you what the trades are for today. I had 1 win and 1 loss, but even this loss was a scalp out, so it doesn't really matter. Shows my commission, shows all my processing here. Now, if I want to show comments or not show comments, I can easily check and uncheck certain things like taxes or things that I don't need to see. I can show auto range, show the grid, all that kind of stuff. Take the grid on, take the grid off. It doesn't matter, okay? If you want comments to show, if you're putting comments into your trades so you can track which trading strategies you're using, you can do that, but it doesn't really matter at this point. So how do we get this information from here over to our spreadsheet? Well, we're going to have to kind of cheat it a little. So right click inside, and you're going to go to Save as Detailed Report. Click on that, and it's going to ask you to save your detailed report. So I'm just going to hit Save. You can also save it with the date on it and all that kind of good stuff, okay? But it really kind of depends on you. Now, this particular page is going to show you the name of your broker. It's going to have your name on it and everything else. It's also going to have your closed transaction, your open transaction, your history, all that kind of stuff, you know, your gross profit loss, all that stuff. We don't care about any of this, all this other stuff, right? Anything down below, anything down below here that doesn't have active trades, we don't really care about at this particular point. Why? Because we're just copying and pasting information over. So what we're going to do is we're going to start down to the lowest line of trade information, copy left to right and up. And we're only going to copy this information, okay? You could copy, for the first time you're doing it so you know what they are, you could copy this information. You could copy this third line information with the headers in there as well, and right click. You're going to hit copy, and very simply go over to your trade sheet, your journal sheet, click on the pick on the 5th line down. Okay, I'll tell you why, because we're going to put some information up here, and you're going to right click and hit paste. And it should look like this. It'll have your ticket number, it'll have your open time, your sell time, or your buy, your direction, your lot size, okay? It says 1, it's a standard lot, okay? Your item, your price amount that you bought it for, your stop loss, your take profit, the close time, the price that you sold it for or bought it for, or what you closed the price out at, the commission rate, taxes, not really so much. You probably can even take that one out. Swap is if it stays over past the close period or the 5 o'clock period Eastern time or GMT midnight, and if it stays over to that time, you're going to be charged interest for the trade being on board, either good or bad, okay? And then, of course, your profit margin. Now, your profit margin is not the amount of pips. You'll have to figure that out by what type of lot size you have. If a standard lot gives you $10 per pip, then you know that you just made 7 pips, 7.5 pips on that, 7.7 pips, where this was minus 1.5 pips. Okay? So I've just clunked all that information in there right there. And now what do I do with it? Well, simply enough, we have to start to make a process to make it look like this, right? And I'll show you how to do that. The first thing you do is you're going to click on the 5th row or your header row that you have this part in, okay? And you're going to go to View, you go to Freeze, and go down to up to current row number 5. What this is going to do is that no matter how many trades you put on afterwards, if you scroll down, if you see it disappear, it means that it's scrolling down and you can still keep the headers and see what each one is, okay? Later on, I'm going to show you how to copy and paste some information over on this system by using my journal, and you can copy that information over. You don't need to know how to do all this stuff. I'm just going to show you how to exactly copy it over and put it in. Okay? Very simple. Now, once you've copied and pasted that over, you basically want to be able to calculate what's my winning percentage? What's my losing percentage? Now, but let me show you some easy tips and tricks here, okay? If I select, you see how I selected this column right here, just this information here? It basically can tally up. If I select it, if you come down here and you look all the way down here, there is a little box here. If you click on that box, it'll say sum, average, minimum, maximum, the count, count numbers, all that stuff. You're looking for sum, so make sure it's on sum. So that way, if I select that, I can look down here and see, hey, I'm in a positive $62 already. Or I can select it and go like that and say, I just spent $13.91 in commissions. All right? So it's easy enough to see that process in there. Now, if I trade on a particular day, and then the next day I come back and trade, I try to put a space in there like Paul does. Paul does that beautifully. He sets this up so you can kind of see that each one of these is a different day. Okay? Now, how do we get this section up here? And I'll show you how to do that very quickly. Okay, so head over to the Simply Forex portal, and all the way on the end, go to the Journals tab. Okay? On this Journals tab, the first one that pops up for the journals is going to be my journal. Okay? And I have mine set up just in a regular system here. So what you're going to want to do, the first one, hey, let me do this. Let me fix this so you can, this is crazy. Hang on a second. Okay, now that I fixed that, now you'll see up top here that I have these 4 boxes, these 9 boxes right here. If you select those 9 boxes starting on J, and you just right click and you hit copy, okay? All right, it'll also give you a little lesson. There you go. I hit copy, and then you go back to your solution here and go to J and right click and hit paste. There you go. Okay. Now, the reason why this works is because underneath these 2 particular processes, I have a special little code, if you can kind of see up here what that code is. Okay. And what this does is that from line 5 down, okay, from line 5 down to a lot, like 8,999, any price that's in there that's greater than 0 will consist as we count it as one unit, right? And then anything for the next one down, if you look, anything that's below 0 counts as a loss. So anything above counts as a win, and anything below 0 counts as a loss, right? That's what that little code tells us. Okay. Now I created that code. You could copy and paste that code and put it anywhere you want. You can copy and paste this as long as you know that the column of column N, okay, remember I said columns, rows, and cells, all right, is that those cells for that column N are being calculated. So any column that has less than 0 in it, if I were to put in +1 right here, watch what happens to my process. Now watch what happens if I put -1. Look at that, you see? So any value that shows up in that cell that meets these criteria, it's going to calculate. Now, also what happens is this gross profit calculator is that it takes an equal of the sum. If you look up here, this is the cell information that sits underneath, equals sum, and then I have the bracket, and then the column number or column letter, the cell number or the row number, and then what this does is it calculates the sum of all these parts. Now remember, when I clicked and dragged earlier, and it calculated the sum down here, right? You see where the sum is calculated down there? Look at that. It calculates it right there as well in our little process. Now, why is this important? Well, first off, it allows us to see quickly what your success ratio is and what you're doing and why that's important. Okay. Secondly, it allows us to create that if you're doing something that's yielding you a successful rate, then we can sort of see where your good habits and your bad habits are at, where you can clean up things at. And so this is an earmark for you to see that you're doing well, right? It's very, very important for you to be able to do that. Now, your commissions are already taken out of your profit margin. So this is sort of a net profit, I would say, of that solution over there, because on your detailed sheet, it already calculates it out for you, okay, before it puts it on. All right, so that's the basics of being able to calculate this process on board. The same thing works that if you're going to do a Nadex trading from that position, you can simply go to my sheet that says it'll have the month and here in October, and do the same thing. Whatever, if you've calculated your Nadex portfolio up, that'll be in a separate video. You could do the same thing from column D, copy the whole thing over, put it in column D in yours, as long as you set up exactly like I have it here. Just remember that the underlying process has it on column F. So just keep that in mind. That this is a good practice to be able to follow through. Now, lastly, with keeping a journal, one thing that I teach people to do in the very beginning is to keep accurate notes. Okay, maybe you kind of went with this and your 200 SMA was pointing flat, but you still got into the trade. You're looking for resolutions to things, why you got out. You know, let me know that I scalped out, had to go, or took wrong way and made money. You know, whatever your little note is, right? If you want me to know or see why you've done something, or you have a question, you can put it into this process. Because what we'll do is that we'll track these. We'll track these through you. And now, how do you share this with me? Well, here's the good part. It's very stupidly simple. Simply go up here and hit share, top right-hand corner, and make sure that I can edit. You're not going to share this with anybody else. Just say can edit. And you're going to put the email address in of maxfarrow@gmail, the number 1, maxfarrow1@gmail.com. Now, this email address will be down below in this video, as well as inside the Learning Center here, okay? So make sure that you utilize that. You can also share it with cs@dextrader.com, and that'll get it to us as well. But share it to my personal one, because I'll see it come over. It'll be in my subclass that I can put it behind my system in here, so I can access it quickly, and then I can also look at your trades to see how well you're doing. Okay, if you start doing well enough, you'll go on our board, like so many other have with our other processes. You'll go on our board here, like with Paul, and where we'll be able to be able to track, and other traders can see your training is there in there as well. So that's pretty cool. We can't wait for you to be able to do that and be a part of this process. All right. So I'm Max Farrow. This is Dex Trader and the Simply Forex and Making a Journal. I hope you got a lot of information there. If you have any problems making this, make sure that you reach out to us. All right. Have a great day. And as always, trade well.